The war between Morgoth's army and the armies of men and elves raged on outside the gates of Angband during the end of the First Age. The clang of swords rang out along with the cries of fallen soldiers and the grunts of advancing orcs. Dragons flew overhead, scorching the earth with their fiery breath and laying waste to hundreds on both sides of the battle. But suddenly, everything went quiet, and the attention of the two warring sides shifted to the volcanic peaks of Thangorodrim. The glowing red sky revealed the hulking silhouette of a dragon, unlike anything Middle-earth had seen up until that point. Ancalagon the Black, the greatest winged dragon Morgoth had created, let out a roar that shook the ground beneath the armies below. He stood confidently perched on the rocky cliff as a faint light broke through the black, ashy clouds. Ancalagon sneered at his new adversary, a tiny wooden ship flying through the air radiating a white light, and thought to himself,
"So, this is the best the Valar could muster."
Welcome to Middle-earth Express, where we explore Tolkien's legendarium in short, digestible videos. Come aboard and join us for more Lord of the Rings content. Today we'll be exploring the life of Eärendil the Mariner, one of the most interesting and exciting stories told in Tolkien's Silmarillion. Eärendil was born a half-elf and grew up in the hidden elven city of Gondolin during the First Age. When Morgoth attacked and eventually destroyed his home, Eärendil and his parents were able to escape and flee to the havens of Sirion along the coast of the Sundering Sea. His parents were the first rulers of this newly settled land, and it was here that Eärendil met the love of his life, Elwing. She was in possession of a Silmaril, an extremely precious jewel which held the essence of the two trees of Valinor. The same Silmaril that her parents, Beren and Luthien, had pulled from the belly of the werewolf Carcharoth after the wolfhound Huan slayed him. Learn more about that story in this video on the channel. Eärendil and Elwing lived peacefully in the havens and eventually gave birth to two boys. The first was Elros, who became the first king of Númenor, and the second is a familiar face, Elrond, the Lord of Rivendell. Eärendil had a deep love for the sea and spent many weeks away from the havens sailing his boat, Vingalote. His goal was to discover the secret route to reach Valinor, the Undying Lands, and find his parents who had travelled there. While on one of these voyages, the havens were attacked by the sons of Fëanor, who sought to find and take Elwing's Silmaril. They murdered nearly everyone there, and in an attempt to avoid capture or a worse fate, Elwing threw herself and the Silmaril into the sea. When word reached Eärendil of this attack, he abandoned his quest to return to his wife's aid. Night drew in, the waves crashed against his ship, and as he struggled to grip the wheel at the helm, he looked to the sky and saw a beautiful white bird flying directly at him. The bird fell gently upon the deck, and Eärendil went and cradled its shivering body. As morning broke, he looked down, and in place of the white bird, he instead found himself looking into his wife's eyes. Overtaken with joy, he rushed her into a bed to recover. The Valar decided to save Elwing's life and have the Lord of Waters, Ulmo, raise her from the depths and temporarily transform her to a bird form. After she recovered, the couple worked together to develop a plan to reach Valinor. They needed the assistance of the Valar to combat Morgoth and help the men and elves of Middle-earth survive this war. Fear bubbled up as Eärendil and Elwing prepared their vessel for the greatest sailing feat any person in Middle-earth had undertaken, but the necessity of the quest drove them forward. The journey was tough, even for a highly skilled mariner like Eärendil. Many times along the journey, they believed they had lost their way, with waves crashing against the hull of Vingalote, a heavy fog setting in, and a bitter cold permeating their bodies. They started to truly lose hope. But as if in a dream, they stared down the bow of the ship and began to make out vague shapes. The gates of Valinor lay before them. They were the first mortals to set foot in the Undying Lands, but they wouldn't be welcomed with open arms. The punishment for sneaking into Valinor uninvited was death, so Eärendil needed to explain himself, his plea, and win over the most powerful beings on Arda. His heart raced, but he knew that if he failed here, it could lead to the demise of all men and elves on Middle-earth. After his meeting with the Valar, Eärendil and Elwing waited for what seemed like an eternity while they deliberated. Manwë, who is king of the Valar, decided that because Eärendil's motivations were selfless, his life would be spared. Manwë gave him and Elwing the choice between being a man or an elf, and while Eärendil's preference was mortality, he gave Elwing the choice for both of them. They eventually settled on immortal lives as elves. Manwë also bestowed magical powers to Eärendil's ship, allowing the vessel to ascend into the sky and sail through the air. This gift came with a task. He must sail into battle and face the armies of Morgoth head-on. Eärendil welcomed this mission and prepared Vingalote for battle. He bound the Silmaril to his brow, causing a bright white glow to surround him and his vessel. Then he sailed swiftly upon the air to Angband, where one final push was being made on the throne of Morgoth. There he met with Thorondor, the king of the Eagles, and developed an attack plan to face Morgoth's newly released threat, the winged dragons. With the host of Eagles and Thorondor by his side, Eärendil flew his ship towards the dark, billowing clouds surrounding Angband. As he cracked through the ashy dust, he lay witness to a horrifying scene. Thousands scattered across the fields in front of the Dark Lord's capital city, many dead or burned, and the massive dragon, Ancalagon, perched atop a nearby peak. The eagles swooped wide in pairs away from Eärendil. Thorondor remained alongside the white ship, and both of them shot through the sky toward the hulking black dragon. Ancalagon made his move. His massive wings flapped and shot gusts of wind down upon the armies below, knocking soldiers and orcs off their feet. Eärendil and Ancalagon rocketed towards each other, and the Silmaril on his brow shimmered and glowed brighter than ever. The light blinded the approaching dragon, who briefly recoiled, giving the other eagles an opening to slash and claw his massive wings. Ancalagon roared in pain, and Eärendil knew this was the only chance he was going to get. He steered the ship directly at the dragon's chest and thrust forward. Vingalote slammed into Ancalagon's exposed chest. Eärendil gripped his long sword and thrust it repeatedly into the beast's belly. This was met with another terrible howl. His howl turned to a whimper, and the greatest dragon Middle-earth would ever see fell upon the mountains below. Eärendil and the eagles had slain the dragon. Tolkien left the battle between Ancalagon and Eärendil vague, but this is a possible version of how a man with a magic ship took down Morgoth's most feared beast. After this heroic feat, the Valar tasked Eärendil with sailing the cosmos along with the Silmaril to protect the sun and moon. He shined brightly for millennia as the star of Eärendil, even playing a small but crucial role in Frodo's quest to destroy the ring. Galadriel's gift is a phial of light, gathered from Eärendil's star, that Frodo and Sam used to fight against Shelob the spider. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed, feel free to come aboard the Middle-earth Express and subscribe to the channel. We hope you join us for our next lore video.